Welcome to Inspired Changemakers, a podcast about all the amazing things people are doing to make the world a better place. This podcast is about creating change and the moments that inspired our guests to activate. My name is Julia Healey, and I'm the CEO of United Charitable. Stay tuned to be inspired. Hey, Sarah, well, welcome to Inspired Changemakers, where we talk everything philanthropy, and we really talk to people that are inspiring change and helping the world become a better place. So I am so excited to have you on. I think there is not a person in the world that has really believed in philanthropy and all the conversations that we've had as much as you do. So with that, let me do your short bio. We could say a lot more though. So Sarah Baker, CFP, is a wealth advisor and team lead for Mason Investment Advisory Services, where she and her team manages over $225 million for about 55 families across nearly all 50 states. With more than 20 years in wealth management, Sarah has been recognized as a 40 under 40 honoree by Investment News and a top wealth advisor by Northern Virginia Magazine. Passionate about philanthropy and empowering women through major life transition, she helps clients find confidence and clarity in their finances. So I love that you really have taken your practice and focused it to really make sure that you're helping people. But with this, has there always been a nod to service? Have you, like from the early beginning, have you always helped people reach their goals? And
yeah, I think so. I've believed in the idea of something more than yourself, and in terms of serving clients, the happiest, most fulfilled and content clients I've seen are the ones that give, the ones that have philanthropy as just a part of their relationship with money. But as a child, my earliest, memory of philanthropy is my dad was an emergency room physician.
okay.
And so he went to this country called Barbuda. So not Barbados, not Bermuda, Barbuda. It's connected to Antigua. It's a tiny little island in the Caribbean.
Okay.
Probably never heard of it. And he went to work as a doctor there because as a country, they didn't have any doctors. And so my dad went there for a few weeks and brought my sister and I and my grandfather. And so I was 8 years old. I went to school at this little school in Barbuda. And then my dad would go to the hospital every day. And he was the doctor for the island, like for, the country. And I remember, I have this early memory of my dad going and helping, and he would come back and say, like, some of the patients there didn't have families and they didn't have food. So I'm like, all right, like, what can we do, to bring food over there? And then my grandfather was also there, and he did a trash pickup for the island. It was like organizing, and it was just this idea that I learned from an early child of having things be better when you leave than when you arrived. And so I think that's a memory that I have as a young child of there's all kinds of ways to give back and to help, and I think that we get more from it when we're giving to others.
And then why financial services? Like, why are we going to help people with their money?
Yeah, so I wanted to be a cashier as a young child, and I really think it was because I saw the connection between people and money. You get to talk to people, and then you get to ring up their things, and I've always loved kind of the game of grocery shopping to this day. But I like the intersection of people and money, because money doesn't mean anything if it's not aligned to who you are and to your goals and your future. So my passion is for clients to have peace of mind.
Yeah.
And to have peace of mind when they think about their future in terms of finances. Because, gosh, there's so many things to worry about and to have fear. I don't want money to be one of them.
We would have definitely been friends as kids in our childhood. I played bank teller.
Okay. Yes. I had a cashier. I got a cash register for Christmas. Other girls were getting dolls, and my mom's like, you got a cash register?
I used to play with the Monopoly money.
Yes.
And then I used to have people make deposits and then withdraw money, and I would write it down.
Love that.
Like, what 8-year-old in the world is like, let's do math as playtime?
Yeah.
But I love that because, money is just such a hard thing for people to talk about. I still have clients that don't work with financial advisors. And I really think about this in the sense that we go, to the doctor when we're sick, right? We go to trainers when we want, help with our workout or whatever. But financial advisors, they're really there to make sure that what you said, that we have some freedom when it comes to your money. How do you create that?
Yeah, I think it's vulnerable conversations. So it's asking good questions. One question that I think has been profound for the clients I've interacted with in my career is, why do you have more than you need? And just letting there be this awkward pause. Pauses are so good and getting people to think and respond, but why do you have more than you need? I work with generally wealthy, high net worth individuals and families. And if you just focus on what you have and collecting and getting more and more, I don't think it translates to contentment.
Right.
Don't think it translates to peace of mind, and you don't have that freedom. If you are one where you can give it's a tangible expression of saying, I have more than I need. Here, have some. And so I believe that asking good questions, and that's just one. And I mean, that's not, if you're a new client, I'm not going to say, so Julia, why do you have more than you need?
Right.
That's something that, trust develops and we build a relationship. But I also believe in the foundation of education. So if you're coming in and we're talking about your investments, you don't need to know everything, but you need to know something.
And you've always kind of used the donor advised fund in your career.
Yes. Yeah. No, I started early on at Vanguard and then went to a firm that was faith-based in North Carolina. And so it was just a normal conversation. We would have this beginning of the year update, and we talk about your goals for the year. And one of the questions was, what's your charitable giving goal for the year? And so every year, first question, first meeting, what's your charitable giving goal? That would be, do you have any major expenses? Do you expect any changes in your income this year? What are you most concerned about, and what's bringing you the greatest joy?
Right.
So it's just a series of questions, and it was on there. And so the best way we could implement charitable giving and strategies and being efficient with taxes and making sure it's set aside is having a donor advised fund, which I call a charitable checking account.
Yeah.
You've got your money for these things, and then for your charitable giving, here's this bucket over here.
And why do you like the charitable, or why do you, out of all the charitable vehicles, right? You could do a private foundation, you could do some type of trust. Why do you like the donor advised fund?
I think it's in terms of costs and efficiency and just a streamlined approach to being able to put money in and then have money go out, but also keep it in there and invest it. It's the best thing out there. I think those other ones, they have a lot of fees. They have a lot of tax filing requirements. This is a very easy, simple, it's like anyone can do it. Open a donor advised fund.
That may be the pitch line that we use for the whole next 10 years. But my other question is, what assets can go inside of donor advised fund?
I mean, we're typically using it for securities, for highly appreciated funds, but you can add real estate. You can add land. I know a long time ago, and I think I told you this before, we had a client that had a cruise ship in the Caribbean, and they wanted to donate. It was an old cruise ship.
Yeah.
We're going to add this, to our donor advised fund. And they went down there, they did evaluation, they had attorneys involved, and they created, this transfer in of this very illiquid asset can become quite liquid and given away. The other thing is, I think that, as Americans, particularly in the high net worth space, most individuals give cash, and most of what they have is not cash. And so a donor advised fund allows you to unlock some of those resources that aren't cash and free them up for charitable giving.
Amazing. And so do you have a story with from all of your clients that somebody made a gift that they found very profound and you guys really bonded over it?
Yeah, I can think of one client, and this was, years ago, where they sold their business. And so before selling their business, they actually transferred a portion of their business ownership to this charitable foundation inside, which basically became their donor advised fund. And
Right.
so their charitable giving for the rest of their life was set apart in this business sale, and it saved them a significant amount of taxes, and then also just created this legacy.
Yeah.
Right? Of this, they were able to translate this business into funding their retirement, but also funding their philanthropy for the rest of their life. And then that sparked them to kind of create this organization. They worked, in water and resourcing water, and then it just kind of became like a second career for them. And I think it was that initial transfer and kind of earmarking part of this sale for philanthropy that really motivated them into that. And that's what I would say too, is the best places to give, and I encourage this too, is it's your time, your talent, and your treasure. If you can put all three in one, it's the trifecta of giving.
I'd like to thank United Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. United Charitable is a national nonprofit that focuses on guiding you on your charitable journey. Whether you like to simply streamline your giving or you like to create your own charitable initiative, United Charitable has the knowledge and resources to support you. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in our bio. And you really have helped your clients reach their philanthropic goals, but you also said you focus on women that are going through transitions. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I had this client, this was years ago in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the husband was an executive for Bank of America, right? He filed his own taxes, did everything, and this is pretty normal for a client situation. His wife was lovely, yet I had not met her, right? He was in Texas, I was in North Carolina. We would talk on the phone. This was like sort of pre-Zoom,
Yeah.
Everything was good. He loved to talk about investments, so a higher level conversation. And then one day I got this voicemail from him, and it said, Sarah, I've been diagnosed with, I still get emotional thinking about this, stage 4 cancer. And, I called him back, and being the good advisor that I am, like, okay, so should I talk with, let's say Susie is the wife. I need to talk with Susie. How about your beneficiaries, your estate plan? And he's like, oh, no, we're going to Arizona for this alternative treatment thing, and I think everything's gonna be fine. I'm like, okay. 10 days later, I get a phone call from the wife. I've never spoken with her. They had been clients of the firm, she and her husband, for 25 years. And she says, he passed away. I'm in Arizona. Meanwhile, they live in Texas. Is there any money in my checking account? And this was traditional of our industry as financial advisors. We generally spoke with the financial spouse, which was most often the male or the husband. And so here she is, now in charge of everything. And so I'm working through, the forms, and my teammates in the next room over, because when someone passes away, you have to retitle all the accounts, and there's a stack of papers this high. And I'm like, okay, time out. I'm not mailing a bunch of information, she has no idea what it is, to a grieving widow in Texas that doesn't even know us. So I jumped on a plane. I flew out there, and I spent 2 days with her. She had not used her debit card. She had some folks that had just recently been released from prison working in the yard. And I'm like, we've got like life insurance checks here. What do we do with this? Like, she was used to just getting cash. Every week she got cash. She could do the groceries, and that was it for 50 years. And she didn't know what account she had, investment account. So we went to the bank together. I'm like, okay, we're going to go to the ATM. This is, here's your we're going to do. And so it's very difficult to learn new things when you have what we call foggy brain. When you lose a spouse or you experience a major life transition, you have 1 to 5 years, depending on how sudden and severe, where you literally cannot function in a way that you used to, and it's difficult to learn new things. So we had put her in this position, and I said, never again. I mean, I worked with her, did everything I could. She's fine. She made it through. But what a disservice as a financial advisor to not engage both spouses.
Right.
And so that created a deep conviction for me that if every future relationship, if I'm working with a husband and wife or 2 spouses, I want them both to know something, because God forbid something happens to one of them. And I've journeyed alongside many widows since that time where, they're dealing with enough hurt and grief and pain that if I can help them just on a basic level in understanding what they have and wrap their arms around their situation, they can move forward with more peace in the transition. So I'm committed to making sure. And also there's a lot of advisors out there that will take advantage of someone that doesn't know anything.
Right.
And so I want to be an advocate for them. I want to serve them. I want to come alongside them. And it's been super meaningful to me to connect with women, particularly preparing for and then going through difficult things in life.
And so now, does that where your personal philanthropy align?
No, I don't think I have any personal philanthropy aligned to that specifically.
Yeah.
I do. I'm very passionate about financial literacy. So I think there is some spillover there. And
Yeah.
so there's an organization locally, Bright Pass. And so Bright Pass is amazing. They actually work with like Catholic Charities and a bunch of other different charities that they're connected to in the area of financial literacy, working with seniors, working with youth, working with, folks that are just returning to work, career classes, tax classes. They have an empowerment center. It's incredible. So they would serve that community, but that's probably the closest alignment.
Yeah. Where else do you really spend your time giving back?
And my family. I think as a mom, I'm in a season where, I've got children and kids and work and mom, and that's a big thing. But I do, I do volunteer with Bright Pass. So, and I'm on the board of Financial Planning Association.
Okay.
Working in the area of pro bono. So next week we'll go to George Mason and we'll do a session. I call this the 5 uses of money. So we'll talk about cash flow with their wealth management students. And then we have about 15 CFPs that are joining, and we're going to offer one-on-one consultations with the kids of what's your spend plan. Because if you can understand and capitalize, the world usually puts living expenses first.
Yeah.
If you can flip it, if you can put like giving first or savings first, your long-term goals, you're building habits for your future that translate to your values.
I would like to thank Athletes Charitable for sponsoring today's Inspired Changemakers podcast. Athletes Charitable offers a concierge membership service that provides the tools and resources to build a legacy through service. Our athlete-led team has the first-hand experience and expertise to provide hands-on support that simplifies the entire process for athletes and entertainers to reach their social entrepreneurship goals and create lasting impact in their communities. To learn more, check out the link in the bio.
And so there's this idea, and if we can learn it early on, where like spending should be last, you spend with what's left, then you can capture something really great, and I think it's powerful. So that's with FPA pro bono, and then I do some Bright Pass work, and then I think another organization I love is Embrace the Dream. It's supports an orphanage in Mexico. I've gone 3 times on trips. The last time was 3 years ago, so I'm probably due to go again. But it's incredible to go to a place, and it's always, I think mission trips is always like, oh, we're giving back. It's like, I get so much.
Right.
You go on one of those trips, it's like.
That I have never heard somebody that has gone on a mission trip and been like, wow, I did it for that. Like,
yeah, it's like they needed me. Like, they did not need me. I needed them.
Yeah, like your whole heart is filled with, that's so interesting that you talked about mentality and flipping it, right? Mm-hmm. Spending is usually always first. Mm-hmm. We were talking a lot about that. I was just at a conference in San Diego, and we were talking a lot about that for, nonprofits. Mm-hmm. How do we create sustainability? Mm-hmm. How do we build an endowment? And so when you talk to people, like, because, we're talking about change, and one of the hardest things to change is your financial habits.
Yes.
It's really hard. What do you tell people that are trying to really change their habits and become better about their money and better stewards of their money? Mm-hmm. Where do you tell them to start? Do you do like the David Ramsey mentality? Yeah,
Dave Ramsey. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, that's fine. That's a good option. Any of those things. Here's the trick. It is so simple. You have to automate as a priority giving, savings, debt repayment. So if you are giving, let's say you want to have you set up a donor advised fund, which my husband and I need to set up a donor advised fund, by the way. And so you set it up, and you want to give to your church, and then you want to give to these organizations, have it automated monthly. Or at the beginning of the year, you say, here's our giving goal for the year, and move that to your donor advised fund. And then automate it, from there monthly or quarterly. But automation, I find that like for example, for our children's savings for college, I was like, oh, my son had this onesie, and it said, ask me about my 529 plan. Because someone got it as a joke, and I was like, well, someone needs to really ask him about his 529 plan, when he's like a toddler, because I'm like, I need to get that set up. Yeah. And then you get it set up, and then it's like, oh, when I get a bonus, I'll put money in here or there. It's like, no. I finally get to the point where, like, every 2 weeks I have money going in. I don't even think about it.
Right.
Same with your 401k or whatever retirement plans you have at work. You need to research, you need to understand what you can put in, you need to automate it. Here's the thing. There's always unlimited ways to spend limited income. So if we don't choose what's most important first, we'll have nothing left for things that matter to us. And so you automate it, and have a plan. And so instead of a budget, we call it a spend plan. I like that. It's less restrictive. There's more freedom, but you must automate it. So automate your savings.
Okay.
If you can, automate your giving. And then if it's like, okay, I want to do extra on your mortgage, don't just think about it. Like, set it up. And then what's in your bank account, you've prioritized everything else. Who cares how you spend it?
Right.
It could go to dance. It could go to cheer. I know some things.
Why are you listing all the things that I horribly spend money on for my children?
Yeah, it's like it can go to those things. If you've set aside all these other things, it's like I don't have clients say, tell me exactly how much you spend on Starbucks. I don't care. It's like, are you doing what you want to do for your charitable giving? Yes. Are you maxing out your retirement plan and on track for retirement? Yes. You can go to Starbucks. You can go to Dunkin'. It's fine.
You're like, do you?
Yeah, you do you. Like, you're accomplishing your long-term goals, and that's first, and that's automated. And especially for, like, busy working moms and busy families. I mean, it's so simple, but, like, getting it on paper and then automating it and checking in, it's all you need to do.
Can I tell you, this is just the funniest story. That's actually not a great funny story, but, I have my MBA in finance. My undergrad is finance and accounting. I'm very great with money in general. But when it comes to my own personal stuff, I had to automate my mortgage because I would forget to pay it. And it's not that I didn't have the money.
Right.
I would just, forget to pay it.
Yeah.
So like that auto payment,
Yeah.
I don't know how people remember.
Yeah, how do people live without it? Yeah, but it's the same thing with all the other categories. It's like, if it's not automated, you probably will forget sometimes to do it.
And I truly believe in that method as well, because even my donor advised fund contributions come right out of my paycheck.
Yeah.
So it doesn't even, it's automatic. So I know exactly where I'm giving. I know exactly what I'm doing. But I love that advice. I think that's so smart. And, we've talked a lot about, talking to people about very personal items. Mm-hmm. How do you really get there with people to when they want to start to talk to you about where their heart is and their values? I mean, those are hard things for people to talk about or even maybe understand about themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing is I feel like I'm a little bit less traditional. Not everyone wants to come into like a stuffy office space and sit across a large conference room table.
Right.
That's not the most engaging space. So I want to create a warm environment.
Okay.
I might say, let's go out for a meal. Like, let's go grab lunch and find like a cozy corner table. You might share a little more with me there than if you were at my office and you're
The mahogany.
10 feet away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful space, but it's like, it's just not as warm and comfortable.
Yeah.
So create a space, create an environment that's, there. And then it's building trust. Like, I might just do a random phone call and just check in like, hey, how are things going? How are you feeling about the market? Because sometimes clients will get like really nervous about the market. Like, this has been a roller coaster of a year, right? Up and down and then up again.
But then all the
world.
The whole world. And everybody's
world.
like, well, what is it going to be? And you're like, right.
Yeah. And so I have some clients that, like one client, like they're afraid they're going to lose their job. And like, they don't always want to say it, or like they know that they shouldn't be worried when the market goes down because we've taught them about this, but they are. And I'm like, look, let's talk about it. I get worried too. And so I think being vulnerable and like sharing my own personal challenges or like how I was feeling, when things were down, are helpful. So it's being vulnerable. I think it's creating an inviting space. And I think it's more consistent check-ins. A lot of financial advisors, it's like, okay, it's February. It's time for your annual review.
Yeah, once a year.
I started in COVID, particularly because I also do work with a group of women that are single. And so they're widowed, they're divorced, or they've just always been single. That's always a really hard time. And so I'm like, I'm going to do a quarterly check-in with every client. So offer. And I've just kept it up. 5 years later, it's great because it's like, imagine if you only talked once a year. You have all these things to download. If it's every quarter, there's more opportunity. If something just came up, you might share it. And, people, when we talk about long-term goals, we learn things about their children, their grandchildren, like hopes, dreams, their fears, like concerns, like different family challenges. And it's like people will tell their financial advisor things that they don't tell anyone else, because they don't want to share things related to their finances with anyone.
Right.
And so when you're exposed to that, it often overflows to life. And I love that too, because I want to know about their life so that I can help them.
It's funny because in Giving USA, it came out that after you talk to your spouse, The second person you talk to about your philanthropy and your legacy and what you want to do is your wealth professional. But only 18% of financial advisors are actually talking about philanthropy.
Right. Yeah.
It's the craziest statistic to me in that sense because, you know, you're right. People come to you and probably share all sorts of things with you about money and their goals. And like, you know, it was so funny. I went to a financial advising seminar that somebody put on. And I've never even thought about financial advising like this. It's like the needs, the wants, and the wishes. And how much time I spent like in the wishes column rather than like the actual things that I need to be doing, you know, which I thought was really interesting. Because you're right, because you can flip it.
Right.
How do you, when you start to talk to somebody, how do you get them to talk to you about that? I know you said like you build trust, but going into the philanthropy, you're talking about the causes that they care about. Like, how do you start in those questions?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I have a client that comes to mind where they want to do like a 7-figure gift, and they want to do it during their lifetime.
Okay.
And so we're talking through it, and like, they'll do big 6-figure gifts every year. And I'm like, okay, so, but they're like, we just haven't found the one. And I'm like, okay, well, like, what is the one? Like, tell me about like what characteristics are really important to get this translated value. And it's like, you know, and the other advisor that it was connected to them for years was like, yeah, they keep talking about this. They keep talking about it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to make it happen. And so I was like, all right, give me 3 charities that you think could be the one. And I was just documenting it.
Yeah.
And then the next time I asked them, okay, here are the 3 charities. Like, have you done any more like due diligence? And I said, you know, how about like connecting your time in some of these and see. But it's also alignment between spouses. And so that's the tricky thing about financial advising. You know, it's like sometimes you're like become the counselor role because they can have 2 very different views.
Yes.
About where they want their money to go. And
yes.
So it's like, we're not trying to just show up and create like, you know, conflict in their marriage, but you have to be very careful, I think, because it's like different amounts in different places. And so getting alignment is another big part of those asking questions. So it's, where's it going to go? Where do you want to go? What areas are important to you? How can we help and support you? But also like, are you aligned in this?
It's so interesting you say that because, you know, I've been with my husband now 20 years, married 12. And when we started, our alignment was so good because it was just, you know, we were young. We knew we gave to like the firemen, military, like that. It's like his causes, he's military, all the things, right? So like that's where we gave to. But, you know, now I'm the mom of 2 and now I really want to help women. And now I love like there's certain organizations. And he's like, wait, how about the firemen? I'm like, I don't care about the firemen anymore. Like, let's empower women. Yeah. And what I think is really funny, though, is that, and, you know, we've totally agreed we need to save for our college, you know, 529 plans, like we need to save for retirement. But then the where do you retire conversation comes up.
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, like in a cabin in the woods somewhere. I'm like, oh, you mean at the beach?
Right.
I was like, so we're going to be retiring to separate houses and separate places. And I couldn't imagine, we haven't brought it up with our financial advisor yet, but what conversation is that going to look like? Because I'm like,
that's a big one.
I'm not living in the woods.
Yeah. So traditionally, most of the clients that are 65 to 80, their preference is to age in place.
Really?
They don't want to move. It's very difficult. And I have this other client in Indiana. She works in like this high-end senior living.
Yeah.
And she's like, there's 2 big barriers to selling these facilities. And it's a beautiful facility. I mean, it's like there's the spa and you know, the indoor pool here with the jets and all of these amazing
bingo,
things,
movie
dining.
night.
Yeah, everything beautiful. And she has 2 things. One, you know, they don't want to downsize and not have the opportunity to like host family for like holidays.
Oh, okay.
And 2, when you sign on for a place like this, it's the last home you'll ever live in. And there's something about that where it's like, I'm going to die one day, you know, it just comes right in front of your face.
Right.
And so those are 2 things. And so I do think an important thing, and this is where the vulnerability comes in, because when you talk to a client about, you know, how are you going to age in place? And what does this look like? And you know, I'll go to a client's house, I'm like, you've got stairs coming up. You know, if you've got stairs, do you have a master on the main level? Do you have a full bath on the main level? Like, we have to have the house, if we're aging in place, like there's certain things that need to be there. So, but that's a big one. And that ties into everything because people can be on hold. Well, I don't know if I can give, this much here or there because I don't know where I'm going to be. So for that older generation, there's a fear of I might have this big medical expense, or I don't know what this care is going to be like. And that can hold back charitable giving, but also giving to family.
And I think the other thing that we have run into with at least the clients that we serve is some of them become afraid that they're not going to have enough money when it's like so completely obvious that they are definitely going to have enough money.
Right.
But they're terrified that they're going to outlive it.
Yeah, and it's so hard, because if they were more charitably inclined, I think they would feel less that way.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting too, and I found that like when we went through, if you have less debt and you're more generous, I think that translates to peace of mind. And when you have peace of mind, you believe us when we say, you know what, Julia, here's a projection of your future. This is going to your age 95.
Right.
You're in great shape.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll look, I'm like, do you believe me? Like, it's
Nope.
like, no, say it again. And so I'm like, all right. And then I'll like figure out a different way. Okay. So we ran these numbers and we took all of your, assets and all of your expenses. And then we inflated your expenses for this healthcare cost from age 83 to 88. And look at what happens at 95. You're fine. And so it's like, you have to say it, different ways, multiple times.
Well, and one of my friends was just talking about like they're saving for their daughter's weddings. I was like, wait, what?
Oh yeah.
What? And I was like, I haven't started saving for any of that yet, but my parents threw me a beautiful wedding. So like, I know it's in I was like, oh my God, I completely forgot about the wedding fund.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. That's probably a major expense coming up, but yeah, so it's important. Like, I think when there's fear of the unknown, it can make us a little more stingy. In our habits. And so in terms of philanthropy and generosity, creating more confidence and peace of mind, which comes from working with a financial planner to say like, hey, I have enough.
Right.
And then you exercise that expression by giving. And it's like, yeah, I have
this
enough.
Sounds like an awful training plan for a 5K. Like, I'm just telling you, everything you have just said to me sounds like I have to trust your process. I have to like trust that if I put in the work and the time and the energy that I'll be able to actually run at the end. Like, it sounds very trusting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it works. I mean, I encourage philanthropy because I think the clients that do it, again, they're holding a little bit less tightly to what they have. And if your hands are open, you can receive better. It's hard to receive when you've got this clenched fist, right? And so just receiving and being comfortable with your finances, I mean, I think that in part comes from being generous.
I love that. Just that mentality and that approach makes it seem so less like, hey, let's look at our tax deductions, rather than training a mentality, which I really love that is your approach to philanthropy. Yeah,
I mean, it's valuing people, right? Too, like, I think that, like, and like, I want, like, my son and kids to know that, like, we are valuing people. We were just having a family meeting recently, like, what can we do around the holidays, where we can give back together? Because it's like and for kids especially to be involved and to catch the meaning of this, of generosity, it's like something is outside of themselves. Like, it's not just about me. Like Christmas, like I don't want my son to just be like, okay, what am I getting for Christmas?
Right.
I want him to think more about others than himself.
A couple years ago, I took my kids to to Charlie Batch's event. It's called Best of the Batch.
Okay.
And so basically what he does is he collects presents for families in the city of Pittsburgh. And so he supports like something ridiculous, like 750 families. Like
wow.
But he doesn't want to just give them an Amazon box. He wants all the presents to be wrapped.
Yeah.
And so we brought my kids to the wrapping experience where they're able to wrap the kids and they're able to, so you get like a little card and it says you are sponsoring a family of 5, an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
And so my kids got to go to the gifts pile
and
pick what they thought like those boys or girls would want, and they had to wrap it. And it was really funny at first because I didn't know how my children were going to connect to this, right? And Sophia, my older one, got really hung up on making the presents like super perfect. Like the wrapping had to be incredibly perfect because, well, what do you mean they're only going to get 3 gifts, like each kid? from like everybody, like from their grandparents, from their cousins, from like their other set of grandparents, they're only going to get like 3 gifts.
Yeah.
And why are they getting pots and pans and underwear and stuff? Like they're not getting, and you could just see it changing her mindset about how she approached her life, or how when she was given a gift, how grateful she has become. And even, you know, my little one was like, toothpaste, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting to see, like, in the kids, how it can change the mindset when they're raised with that mentality of giving and noticing our environment and how can we give back and how can we keep our hands open is important.
Yeah, that makes me think of, like, my son in kindergarten did the needs versus wants. And I'm like, great, they're learning financial planning in kindergarten. But, like, what's a need versus what's a want?
Yep.
Going back to your, you know, the uses of money and cash flow. And it's incredible, right, that some of what we need or categorize as a need is someone else's want.
Yes.
Toothpaste.
And
then it's like, you know, for our kids, it's like, you know, a cell phone. It's like, they'll be like, I need a cell phone, right? Every kid needs a cell phone. It's like, no, that's a want. And for some kids, it's not even a want because it's not even on their radar.
And I think what becomes so interesting is when I've been able to follow my families that have donor advised funds with me now for the last, 15 years, you can see the next generation. And now I'm getting the next generation opening their donor advised fund accounts.
That's awesome. Yeah, what a legacy.
What a legacy. And then each family gets to figure out how they get to be and how they get to interact, right? And I love what you're saying about going to vet the charity and going to volunteer in the charity and figuring out like what can we really do to make how we want the world to be a better place.
Yeah, right.
And how can we not only take our money, but our time and our talent. But the other thing that I think is incredibly important is talking about your philanthropy. And I think people are so afraid to be like, hey, this is what I care about.
Right.
But it's so important that people talk about it.
And share, yeah.
Because that's advocacy. That's how people learn new things. I'm telling you, if the Philadelphia Eagles never put on, if I wasn't at one of the games and Donovan McNabb didn't come up and didn't say, hey, I'm helping with food security in the city of Philadelphia. I was like, what do you mean people don't have food in the city of Philadelphia? To me, it's the best city in the world, right? So, like, what do you mean they don't have food?
Yeah.
So, but really advocating and talking to people about your philanthropy.
No, it's important.
My last question will be,
okay,
do you have a real moment of philanthropy where you felt like you were incredibly connected to an organization?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've felt that, a lot, and probably going to the orphanage in Mexico, and you see, I mean, the amount of money it takes to sponsor 1 month of like 40 children and adults is like what you and I spend in groceries, in like a few weeks.
Yeah.
And so I think that being there and seeing the joy in these children and just connecting, and like as soon as the bus would pull up, they just run out, and then the end of the week, it's like, I'm like just bawling, crying, like, when am I going to see you again? And so I think that for me, it just pierced my heart in gratitude and contentment. And it's changed my life to just go there and see these kids that have nothing, how joyful they are, how happy they are, but then also like how easy it is for me to support a cause like that.
Yeah.
I can show up there and I paint their cubbies or like bring stickers and like I bring, do a sock drive and like silly things like that. But like, I don't, I show up there and it's meaningful to me, but then when I get home, I can do small gifts to the foundation, and it makes, I think, a significant impact. I think I paid for one of the students' university, and it wasn't that much, in 4 years. And then, she's graduating with a nursing degree, so she's out of poverty, and working and earning money. And so I've been a part of it for so long now, seeing what were children going to school, doing this, and then getting out, and then they pay for their education in college. And a lot of organizations and orphanages, they stop at like 18.
Yeah.
And this supports them through college. And if they can get into a college, or a trade school, they'll pay for them.
Yeah.
And that's meaningful too, because it's just empowering to have education. So I think that's something that has really influenced my decision making.
Yeah.
And just kind of gripped my heart.
Oh, amazing. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today. I truly appreciate it.
Me.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
This is fun.
Find Inspired Changemakers on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and comment on all the awesome things you are doing to make this world a better place. Don't forget to subscribe.